worse. These are individuals who once had homes now in the street. They only need first aid as food, clothing, and so on. You can send them a 3-gift box. This is 230 West Street, Florence, Kansas, 66851. Or donate online by going to reachingallhomeless.com. Call 316-619-4886. 316-619-4886.
Whether you are pre-trib, trib, or pre-rap, or post-trib, or your position is, this book will help you to find the truth. If you really look for the truth about the rapture, I honestly believe you will find it in this book. It'll settle in your spirit because the truth is the Holy Spirit knows the truth about the rapture. One of the reasons that people other than post-trib can't seem to find peace about this is because the Holy Spirit is trying to tell them they don't have the truth. That is until they find post-trib. But either way, it is going to help you find peace about the rapture. I really need to get it. We offer them in shrink wrap sets of 10. 1 for 20, 10 for 30, and 20 for 50 at prophecyclub.com. 1 for 20, but don't do that. 10 for 30, 20 for 50 to give you extras to give your friend. Because once you read this one, you're going to be handing this to your pastors, to all of your Christian friends, and just ask them to read it. If they get through the first chapter, they're going to read the whole book, and they're going to love it. And it's going to help them to really find the truth about the rapture. How pre-trib one at prophecyclub.com.
Welcome to the Messiah's Branch broadcast, a 1-hour prophecy program on the American Voice Radio Network, featuring Pastor Dan of the Messiah's Branch Ministry. And now, here's Pastor Dan.
Greetings, saints, and welcome to the Messiah's Branch Prophecy Hour. We're broadcasting live from the Flint Hills of Kansas, and we're on that American Voice Radio Network. Today's
date is July 17th, 2025.
Saints, the world is in turmoil. Most still don't realize that, but we are in that time of the end. And it's time to get out of sin. Look to that holy city. Look to the one who suffered and died for you. Did you not hear the sound of a shofar? You really need to heed that warning and just don't ignore it. Heed the warning and get right now before it's too late. Please make the choice for Yeshua tonight. If you need help after the program, call me. I'll pray for you, with you. If you get the machine, leave your name, number, prayer request, and or message.
And the phone number is 620-878-4682. That's 620-878-4682. If you have an emergency and need to speak with Dan, text him on his phone. Let him know you're going to call 316-619-4886, 316-619-4886. You can always find the breaking news, updates about the Wichita Mission Church, the radio program archives, and all of our contact information on our ministry hub, which is prophecyhour.com. That's prophecyhour.com.
Okay, we are a live radio program, simulcast live on the net internationally. It's on some independent FM stations, 4 independent MP3 streams over at, what's that place?
Prophecyhour.com?
No, Frank's place.
Oh, AVR.TV. AVRN.TV.
I was just testing her to see if she had it memorized because she always says it in the videos.
American Voice Radio, what you're listening to right now.
Yeah, well, it's not that easy. Really, if you do American Voice Radio, there's some others called out there. It's really not that easy to find. But AVRN.TV is, and it took me a while to memorize it myself. Yeah. I kept messing it up. but we have been on that station for a long time. Franklin over there decided he was going to change it to that because it was shorter or whatever reason, but it threw me off. Anyway, so we're a live radio program, but if you folks want to go to prophecyhour.com, click on the Rumble link. That's what I'd really like for you to do. Click on the Rumble link and watch us live at Rumble, because I'm trying to build an audience at Rumble. And as you can see, I guess we now have the video cameras working, but there's going to be a change in that too soon. Anyway, so on another note, let's thank our listener base.
In places worldwide like Bangalore, India, Warsaw, Poland, Idaho, Australia, and in the USA, we have Boise, Idaho, San Angelo, Texas, Fresno, California, and last week, Hutchinson, Kansas was the largest group of listeners that listened to the podcast when it posts later tonight. And there's a podcast archive site, which is branch.podomatic.com. That's branch.podomatic.com, where you can go listen to all of them.
Okay, something interesting about that city, Ivanhoe in Australia. Ivanhoe was a book about knights that I read in grade school. And actually, Ivanhoe is out of England, out of the knights out of England. I don't know how Australia was actually, what do you call it, settled by, the English people. Anyway, but the point is that I guess that's where the English names over there. But Ivanhoe, yeah, real cool story about knights. And there's even a movie, a black and white movie called Ivanhoe, and it starred Tony Curtis when he was real young. So that's some history about Ivanhoe.
Okay.
Okay. Not that it was important to what we do anyway, but it's fun. And I try to have fun over here, because this world is pretty depressing if you let it get to you. Dear Heavenly Father, in Yeshua HaMashiach's name, I pray, Father, let radio go up according to your will, not our will, Father, because we mess everything up. So, Father, I just ask you to have your blessing on this radio program tonight and give people out there ears in which to hear and understand the truth. So please, Father Yahweh, and your Son, Yeshua HaMashiach's mighty, mighty name, bless this program tonight. Amen and amen.
As I try to figure out what this world is all about, I know one thing without a doubt: my Lord is in control. Perilous times I know are here, men's hearts failing because of fear. But here's one thing I know is clear: my Lord is in control. He's in control. Yes, it's everything I know. Soon he's coming back to take me home. Things may get worse if I keep my Savior close. And I won't need to worry, I'm not alone. Stress of nations on every hand, false messiahs throughout the land. But here's one thing I know will stand: my Lord is in control. Signs and wonders are in the skies, disease and famine are on the rise. And even though tears fill my eyes, my Lord is in control. He's in control. Yes, it's everything I know. Soon he's coming back to take me home. Things may get worse if I keep my Savior close. I won't need to worry. I won't need to worry. I won't need to worry. He's in control.
Okay, Brother Ben McKnight passed away already, and said it many, many times. He had a radio program on shortwave. It was only 15 minutes long, but he reached a lot of people with it. And that was back in the 90s. Or then back, I found him I found him after I found Stan Johnson at the Prophecy Club, because that's where we found it. He did actually at one time let somebody else give out booklets, and he let them give out his 70th week magazine booklets.
He was shortwave radio, wasn't he?
Yeah, shortwave. And I'd love to go on shortwave if I could find a sponsor, but I've already checked into it. It cost me $100 an hour over there. I'd like to do 4 programs.
Yeah, we did shortwave, but you did cassettes and mailed them somewhere.
Okay, stop a minute. Let me finish this. Yeah, I'll get to that in a minute, Mom. Anyway, so it'll cost me $100 an hour to be on shortwave, the best radio shortwave station. So for some weird reason, there's somebody else that wants to sponsor us, being about $500 a month on radio and shortwave, I gladly do make another program over there. And it would also give us another internet program because we're on the internet. Yes, I was on shortwave. What was the question?
No, but we made cassette tapes for a long time that we mailed somewhere. That was shortwave, wasn't it?
Well, I did them for shortwave, but what I did was I played them over the telephone.
I don't remember. I just know we made a bunch of tapes.
Yeah, and I still got copies of all those tapes, and most of that was warfare against false prophet R.G. Stair. In fact, that's why I got on it, because the people, I went to visit Stair's farm and I helped expose him and throw him in jail the first time. And but somebody paid for me to be 2 years on shortwave, and so that I paid it up front in advance. And so yes, you could either talk on the phone, and boy, back then I really didn't know what to just talk on the phone by myself, or the technology was really hard to get to be able to get it. Another, especially somebody that didn't know anything about how it all works, to get a switchboard and everything to be able to have another guest and then play it out to shortwave on radio. Finally, after a couple of years, I figured all that out. But at first, so what we did was we made tapes I made tapes at church, and then when I get the program going, I just press play and play it over the telephone. And
I thought we mailed them to somebody.
We did at first, but I found real quick that stopped. That stopped almost immediately because I figured out how to just play them over the telephone, and I still got the equipment over there in the junk file someplace that I could still do that if I wanted to. So telephone. And then by the time I finally really mastered telephone, got some good equipment to do it, and everything was sounding good. And then Frank came along with, well, we need to go use the internet. And I still don't like the internet that well, because one of the big drawbacks when I first started doing it is there's such a dead silence. Like right now, if I'm not talking or my wife's not talking, there's no static, there's not supposed to be anyway. But right now there's no static or anything, and it's just dead silent. And, yeah, so I've always had a problem just talking to that microphone. That's why I started having you more than just once a month or once in a while, was because I couldn't stand just to talk to empty air, and let alone though you do contribute things, and so you're very useful, and I'm very thankful for my wife to be on radio with me. It's a blessing. But anyway, so all of that to say, what was the reason for talking about all that anyway?
Radio.
Just radio in general, I guess.
Shortwave. I brought up shortwave.
Oh, you brought up.
Because Brother Ben was on shortwave.
Yeah. Okay. There we go.
That's actually where we started our mailing list, was from his mailing list, Brother Ben's mailing, and then it just grew and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything changed, just like everything else changed. Out with the old, in with the new. But I thought that I was under the impression that we switched over to internet because it was better radio, but shortwave's actually the better radio.
No, that you missed the point. I didn't like the transition when we first started on radio with Frank after shortwave. That was satellite radio, and Frank wasn't the one doing it. I remember Dennis Dennis helped me
Dennis.
okay, well, listen to the story so you know. Dennis helped me capture and record the radio programs and then helped me put them on the internet.
Yeah.
And then Frank got into it, and Frank started recording the programs, and I started also getting them from Frank. So Frank did help. I'm not saying that he didn't, but Dennis is the one that made it able
I
for me
remember
to do that.
Dennis. Yeah.
Okay, so then that's why I say we're a radio program. We're on satellite radio. Well, we dropped satellite radio, but we're still on independent in a couple of independent FM stations. So we're still technically a radio program, but I'll always call it radio. It's different than a podcast. We went through so much podcast. Anybody can go out there and start a podcast nowadays with a couple of clicks. But back then it was not easy. I was a pioneer in putting them on the internet. Not hardly anybody else was doing it. And publishers started sending me their books and all that stuff. But so, okay, going back to that. So when we first went to radio with Frank, we were using the telephone to call, but it's still Frank.
I remember that
always
too.
Okay, but Frank always you have to hand it to him. This Frank always streamed to the internet. He was one of the very first streaming radio programs that was on there. That he'd take the capture from our radio program, like I was recording it. Frank was streaming it out to the world.
He's also where you did the call-in guests, where you had people call in.
I didn't ever do call-in guests.
I thought you had people calling on the phone.
No.
Oh, that was call-in to listen.
You could, yes, you can, and you
Call
can
in to
still
listen,
do.
yeah.
Okay, you can still do that. I can look up the number if you all want to text me at 316-619-4886. I can give you the number to call, and you can listen to the radio program.
Yeah, that's
live.
what I mean, because when Craig started listening, that's what he was doing, listening on his flip phone.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, and there's a few people that still want to listen that way because they don't like internet and they're older. Most of them are older that I know of. But yes, you can call in and listen to the radio program at the live times. And so anyway, that's how all that works. But anyway, so then, yes, so Frank was American Voice Radio was big. We were all really big at that time. We had a lot of listeners. In fact, I was told once that when I first come on, I had more listeners listen to my stream than any other that was using that platform. No big deal. But anyway, so Frank did that, American Voice Radio, and he had to help at James Lloyd.
That's who I was trying to think about, James Lloyd. And I kept thinking, I know there's a guy that I can't think of his name. I thought it was started with an L. Lloyd.
Yeah. In fact, it wasn't even Frank that called me and asked me to see. James Lloyd called me and said American Voice Radio was starting and told me about Frank and said that he was a good guy, whatever. And he said that he was trying to help him find people to speak. And he said he was looking for fresh people. Well, James Lloyd said that I'd do real good on talk radio, so he talked me into it. And so actually it was set up with James Lloyd, who was helping Frank start the station. I don't know into all great detail, but that's how I got on with American Voice Radio. So I got on right when American Voice Radio first started.
First started is one of the first.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, according to James Lloyd, and everything. And so, yeah. But anyway, so then we were still using the telephone to call the station, and then Frank would capture it and put it out on a stream on the internet. Well, then I'd capture the radio stream on the internet and record it. And then Dennis showed us how to put it on the internet, but it wasn't easy at first. It didn't really become what you'd call easy for somebody like me. In 2004, or a little after 2004, probably. Well, they started in 2004, but about close to midpoint of 2004, I found Podomatic. And Podomatic is one of the very first people that had a way for people just to make podcasts. They were one of the very first that somebody could go to, subscribe, and put them out. That and Blog Talk Radio. Well, I tried Blog Talk Radio, and it was a load of garbage. It never was clear or whatever, blah, blah. Anyway, I guess they're still going. I don't know. But so I started using branch.podomatic.com. Podomatic, and that's still where the archives are, and you can go over there and listen to them, and they're really good people. They really helped me out over the years. They helped our ministry out when we didn't even have money to pay them. And so, hats off to him. And actually, Omega Man just transferred over and is now using Podomatic.
Omega Man did.
Yeah, he is. And we're going to have him back on. I'm trying to work out a weekly schedule with him, but it's really tough.
He's still doing radio, his radio program, Omega Man.
Yeah, he's still doing a big radio program, and he's got a lot of people booked. He has a lot of the old time people that I had as guests years ago are on his radio program, and they're still good people to listen to. Soon we're going to start bringing people back.
Did he move to Panama? Is that who moved to Panama?
No, he is in Indonesia.
Indonesia.
Well, he is married to an Indonesian woman,
Right.
and he has several children with her. And so he's doing real good. But anyway, we might as well talk about the mission church because we only got a few minutes before.
Pray about helping because we really desperately need help. Right now, I have no pasta. Well, I got 2 cases of macaroni and cheese donated Tuesday. Tomorrow's Friday, Tuesday, but that's it for the pasta that I have. I have lots of rice, but I have no pasta, so until I can get some.
Yeah, but aren't you dangerously low on meat too?
Yeah, I've only got 3 rolls of meat too.
Right.
And that's only
yeah.
And Thursday, Friday, Tuesday. Next Friday, I'll be out.
And I don't know if we mentioned it last week or even if we did radio last week, but I will say this: that hamburger is the highest that it's ever been. Ever.
Yeah, I know. There and in some places, in some stores, steak and chicken are cheaper than hamburger.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
And it really, well, here's the real shocker that it shocked me. Steak was cheaper than chicken.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, well,
They must have woke up. Just kidding.
Yeah,
That's not funny.
I'm
I
gonna
take it back.
cut the camera, mute her, do something with her. Yeah, man, people, you have a woman and that's what it is. Anyway, Father, did you give her to me to be a helpmate or a pain mate?
Well, to be your survivor.
Yeah, well, amen, 40 years. But yeah, the right woman is the right thing. Men need to be complete. And I believe that also completes a woman because there's things that I do easily that because I think a little bit different than her, and definitely a major portion of things that she does that because she handles them so well, and you really do. Hats off to you. In fact, the whole family has became dependent upon you.
Yes.
Which
Mom
is a
can
trap.
fix it. Really? Okay, here we go. 9 times out of 10, Mom can fix it, but
Yeah, there's that 1%.
I got this new saying, it's not my problem. It's not my deal. Deal with it.
Actually, you sound like you've been listening to Trump too much.
It's not my problem. Deal with it.
Well, that's because that's what Trump.
I think I'm going to get me a red button.
Hey, that's what Trump's been saying. He tells other countries it's not our problem. We're only going to deal with America's problem.
We got our own problems, right, Trump?
We're only going to deal with Pastor Dan's household, and but not the boy across the street or the boy.
I
down
did
the
not
street.
know he was saying that. That just was me.
Yeah, that's what he's. Yeah, that's the whole America first thing.
It's an overload. I hate to be in his shoes. Ooh,
Yeah, but there's things. But hey, cut.
Anyway, back to this.
Yeah. Just read this real quick and I'll explain it.
Okay, July 17th, 2025.
You don't need to read the date.
I just got to remind them. Okay, today is the first round of Doge cuts was passed by Congress, making $9 billion in Doge cuts permanent. USA loses $8 billion, and NPR and PBS lose $1 billion. JD Vance cast the tie-breaking vote. Yes,
right. Okay,
so
so
JD.
pre before and that is now the Doge cuts. The first part of them are permanent, and that kills those so-called public radio stations. And see, NPR is National Public Radio, which is totally leftist, and PBS, when they were first started, they were really for the American people, and for to give news and help. And everybody knows PBS came famous. What made PBS famous to most people?
Sesame Street.
Yeah, absolutely, Sesame Street. But they got political and do other things too, and so they're garbage now. Anyway, so that has done it. In those Doge cuts is also, we're talking about we're getting the tax breaks and all those things make them permanent. But
Well, I just hope he does away with property tax everywhere in every state, because it's ridiculous that you buy something, but you always got to pay them for what you own. That's
okay,
retarded.
well, there's a lot of talk about changing that, but the problem with that is Trump can't do it unilaterally. He can do it if there was federal property taxes on your property.
Oh, it's state. That's
It's
why.
state taxes, and that's why some states like Nevada, for one, has no property tax. And
So
I
it's
think
county to county, isn't it?
no, it's by state.
Ah,
The state of Nevada says no property taxes, but the city of, like, say, Las Vegas, I don't know if they have some kind of tax on property or not. I don't think they do. Anyway, we got to go to a break.
okay.
Don't go away. Pastor Dan will be right back.
In Genesis 41, tells the story of Pharaoh having a dream of 7 fat ears of corn followed by 7 blasted ones, meaning there's 7 years of plenty, and then there was 7 years of famine following. We are now in 7 years of famine once again, starting September 25th of 2021. Joseph's Kitchen is about getting actual wheat berries, putting them through a mill, takes 30 seconds, putting it along with the ingredients into a bread machine, pushing a button. 2 hours, 20 minutes later, you have a nice steaming hot loaf of whole wheat bread. Most long-term storage food is from $9,000 to $10,000, one person, 1 year. At Joseph's Kitchen, it's 2 people, 1 year, about $2,000. Then you decide whether you want to have food for 1 person 1 year, 2 people 1 year, 4 people 1 year, or 6 people 1 year, all at josephskitchen.com. That's right, about $1,000 per person per year at josephskitchen.com. josephskitchen.com.
Hath God said, in the Garden of Eden, the Lord God commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it. For in the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. Careful consideration of the following events gives us great insight as to the tactics used by Satan in an attempt to devour the servants of God. The serpent questioned Eve, hath God said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? Eve, after reconfirming the fact that God had commanded that certain fruit not be eaten, and that disobedience would result in death, was told by the serpent that disobedience would not result in death. Ye shall not surely die. Truly there is nothing new under the sun. Satan knows that the commandments of God are sure, and that they stand fast forever and ever, yet he continues to persuade men to question those commandments. Hath God said, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy? Yes, God did say that, and Satan knows that non-observance of the Sabbath day constitutes sin. He knows that the wages of sin is death, yet in an attempt to destroy man, he still persuades, ye shall not surely die. Each individual must choose whom they will serve. Those who believe the lies of Satan become the servants of sin. Those who believe God, the servants of righteousness. I'm Richard Reeves with Just the Facts. For more information, contact Partakers Publications, Post Office Box 23031, Charlotte, North Carolina, 28227, or visit our website at www.toolong.com.
What would you do if you had to tell a person the most important information in the world, but you knew they wouldn't believe you? Would you tell them? Well, most would. So what is the most important information in the world to all people, nations, and languages? The most important thing to do is to receive Jesus. But the most important thing not to do is don't take the mark of the beast, because those taking the mark of the beast do not get soul death, but are eternally tormented in hell. Revelation 14:11 says, the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever, and they have no rest day or night who worship the beast in his image, or whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. But how do you tell them? give them the book, Miss the Mark. If they'll read this simple, thin, easy to read book, they will never take the mark of the beast. One for 20, but don't do that. We offer them in shrink wrap sets of 10 to give away. One set of 10 for 30, two sets 45, four sets 70 at prophecyclub.com. Miss the mark at prophecyclub.com. Miss the mark at prophecyclub.com.
Behold, he comes, riding on the clouds, shining like the clouds, as the trumpet calls, lift your voice, hear of Jubilee, our crying fields and winds come.
Okay, we're back. This is Pastor Dan and
Linda Catlin.
you're listening to Messiah's Branch Prophecy Hour on the American Voice Radio Network. I want to make a slight clarification. My wife read that article, and that actually was information that came out yesterday. So I think it was yesterday or Tuesday when we were at church that they actually signed it. But I think it was yesterday because I know it says today, and I
Yeah.
didn't have time to correct that.
Always look for a date when it says today or
Yeah, and
Because
the July
everything
7th.
posts, but it's
Yeah.
like 2 years ago.
Well, I only wanted there's a huge article about it and several different ones. So I just clipped that little bit because I didn't want to talk about the whole article and everything. So I just wanted to tell them because, I can tell them what's, anyway, point being in the July 17th is that date always changes. What we're looking at is a read sheet over here. Folks, I'm pointing at my video, this read sheet over here that gives us that we put on the different things we're going to talk about. Anyway, and that's all useless stuff. That's another thing there. Let's do this real quick.
Okay, Donald Trump has ruled out sending long-range missiles to Ukraine after reports suggested that he was considering giving Kyiv weapons that could strike as far as Moscow. Asked on Tuesday whether the U.S. would deliver deep strike mutations to Ukraine.
Mutations. I'm sorry. They are probably mutations. It's munitions. Like ammo, munitions.
Yeah, where's the ammo on there?
Yeah,
To Ukraine, Mr. Trump said, no, we're not looking to do that.
It will mutate some people, though. I mean, there's that. It will mutate some people.
Amputate people, you mean?
Yeah.
Amputate. Yeah.
Amputate.
Yeah.
Well, and mutate them into something,
I don't think there'd be much left after they get hit with a bomb.
Yeah, absolutely. We shouldn't laugh. The people are being slaughtered over there senselessly, and Zelensky being pushed by the warmongers doesn't want to stop the war because when he does, he's out of office and he's just into buying stuff, and then they will concentrate on finding out where all the money went, and that's what they're worried about. In the meantime, Russia's winning the war.
Here's another one that says, "This is not my fight." Anyway, he said. He
Well,
went
he
on
did
to,
say
yeah,
that.
I know. He said he went on to say that the Ukraine should not attack the Russian capital, adding, "I'm not on nobody's side. You know whose side I'm on? Humanity's side."
Right. Go ahead.
Yeah. In a phone call with the BBC on Tuesday, Mr. Trump said that he was disappointed, but not done with Putin. He said, "I thought we had a deal done 4 times, and then you go home and you see he just attacked a nursing home or something in Kyiv."
Okay, that's Kiev, but it doesn't matter. Kiev, tomato, I don't care. You know who attributed pointing it out to me that Putin really wasn't doing deals right is a sarcastic woman. He'd go in his house, bragging about, he said he'd go home and brag about, well, he just made it go off the phone with Putin and it was a really good conversation. And then Melania would pop in, and this is what he told the news. He said, well, then Melania popped in. Well, that's funny because I just seen him bomb a nursing home, or he bombed this, or he bombed that. That sure is funny. Sarcastic woman.
He just bombed somebody after you walked out the door.
Yeah. Anyway, but he attributed Melania to telling him. Okay, let's do something that's good news. Just this one little place right here.
As the block reports, the House voted 215 to 211 on Wednesday to move forward, and the later take a vote on the guiding of establishing national innovation for U.S. stable
coins, just like it looks.
Also known as the Genius Bill, which would create a regulatory framework for stable coins and could be slated to head to the President Donald Trump's desk before the end of the week. Is that Bitcoin?
Yes, it is stable coins, and that is the Genius Bill, which create for stable coins. And so I have just a few dollars in Bitcoin, but you know, I probably made about, since that came out, I probably made about $20. And even Daniel noticed it. For some reason, he had bought $10 worth or something, and so he gained a couple of dollars. And that was just because he just got Cash App. Cash App, pretty good place to make it easy to buy Bitcoin, but I don't like all that stuff on my phone that much. I don't hardly ever use it, but you can donate by Cash App if you want. But anyway, Bitcoin, I do have a Coinbase account, and I like Coinbase really easy. It pulls up what we have in Bitcoin and all that, makes it easy.
Yeah, well, I don't like none of that stuff on my phone because I'm always looking for my phone.
There's that.
I don't want it to fall into the wrong hands, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, you know, if anybody, and you know this because I informed you, but you know, folks, if you lose your phone or misplace your phone, even in your house, if you use Google or have a Google account or a Chrome account which uses Google, and you use it on your phone, even it tracks, your phone is tracked by that. So you can go online to Google and say, track my device, find my device, and it will tell you, it will show you a map where it was last at. And
yeah, it does. It pulls it right up and shows a map of right where your phone is.
and then what else little feature does it have?
And then it starts going beep, 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 beep.
You have
beep,
to hit
beep,
the
beep.
button to make it go
And
beep,
you have
beep,
to
beep.
pick up the phone and hit the off button for it to go off.
Yeah, but it
But then
helps.
you got somebody sitting at the computer that every time you turn it off, they turn it back on, and you're going, what's going on? I wonder who does that.
I did that because I didn't know what phone it was. I did that to Bubba, but that wasn't even that app. It was an app that Bubba
No,
had.
when you did it to me on my phone.
Right, but I did it to Bubba
On different app.
recently on his phone. Yours, I was playing with you, but you hadn't came back and told me you found it. Anyway, but I did it to Bubba because there was some weird app on my phone that was a tracker, and I didn't recognize the phone number, so I kept hitting it to see if I could figure out who it was. And Bubba,
He said,
that's my
somebody hacked
son.
my phone. Who's messing with my phone?
Yeah,
Who's hacking my phone?
Yeah, it was pretty funny. Anyway, that's good news. I believe Bitcoin should be used and can be used, and you know, but it needs regulation. See, there's the kicker. You can't have, with it being so unregulated, you know, that's what criminals use to pay people.
I got a question. What do you use? How do you use Bitcoin? How do you use it?
Well, I can put up an app on my account, and even in stores, you go into some stores and you know, owned by
like
young. Let me
cash?
finish and I'll tell you. Don't interrupt till I get done. Okay, you go into a store that, you know, is usually run by younger people, and it'll be a sign up that says we accept Bitcoin, and you hand them either your phone that has like Coinbase app on it, and it'll say pay in Bitcoin, and you put their number in, and it's just like Cash App. And Cash App, or you pull out your Cash App card and hand it to, and you know, run it and set Bitcoin, and it pays in Bitcoin.
So as it works,
It's like electronically.
Yeah.
It's all
electronic money.
It's electronic money, and it that isn't even a good word for it. I can't explain Bitcoin to you at all, except that it's electronic. That's about it. And then I know that you can buy it electronically, and I know that there's a lot of people that bought into it at first. You know, like me, I thought, oh, that's you know, it's not anything to. If I would have bought in right at first, the same amount of money that I bought now, we would be millionaires.
Oh.
And that would be simply for an investment of a couple of $100. You know?
But everybody knows about it now, so you can't. Yeah.
Well, it's because they expected at some time to do another big jump, and this big jump could very well come after this regulation is passed, because then people will jump to invest in it because they know it's going to be stable. And so that's why they're calling them stable coins. So because it'll be stable, you understand? And so there will be a lot of people that jump on. So if you have some extra money, you might consider it, but you could also lose it too. You could lose a lot of money that way, you know. So
It's kind of like
it's stock.
yeah,
It's just
stocks,
like
that's what
it's
I'm saying.
stock, but it's electronic stock. Okay, this is really important, and I think that, and this is actually going to end up being the title and the main push of this radio program. I want you to take it slow and read this. First off, we're going to be using the word Nuremberg trials. Do you know, without looking at that, do you know what the Nuremberg trials were?
No.
Yes or no?
No, I
No.
said
Oh,
no.
okay. Well, I didn't hear you. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Okay, she folks, like most people, you know, don't, especially of our age group and below, don't know what Nuremberg is. After World War II, there was a thing called the Nuremberg trial. We'll just read this a little bit and then I'll explain it if it doesn't bring us. Go ahead.
Okay, the Nuremberg trials were held by the Allies against representatives of the defeated Nazi Germany for plotting and carrying out invasions of other countries across Europe and committing atrocities against their citizens in World War II between 1939 and 1945. Nazi Germany invaded many countries across Europe, inflicting 27 million deaths in the Soviet Union alone. Proposals for how to punish the defeated Nazi leaders ranged from a slow trial to
Show trial.
A show trial to summary executions.
Yes, they executed a lot of people. People like guards at the gate, at the places where they executed the Jews. You know, they held them responsible for war crimes, and the world did it. And they had these huge, in fact, there's movies about it. They've had this huge, what they call show trial, because everybody, it was put on TV and everything, and they punished a lot of you know, of the Nazis and some of the other people too. But anyway, the main push is, so Nuremberg trials. That's a thing that's worldwide, and they had executions, and the world set up some standards after that. You know, that they say, well, those are Nuremberg standards, or we, you know.
Yeah, I've heard that word before.
Yeah, well, you probably heard it over in your life a lot, just never registered because it didn't, you know, like most people, in fact, you probably had it in school.
Probably.
Your age group, you should have had it in school because they hadn't messed up education yet. But the point is it's something, unless you're a history buff or, you know, you're just not going to remember it so much. Anyway, here's the point. Nuremberg trials, the whole world involved, worldwide punishment to a worldwide thing. You know what I mean? Okay, so I got this today. I found this because I was looking for something for somebody else, and I found this, and this came out by Jim Ferguson on July 8th. Let's go with this.
Judgment in Lee Warden, the vaccine trial that could trigger Nuremberg 2.0. Okay, by Jim Ferguson, July 8th, 2025.
Okay, Nuremberg 2.0. So they're talking about this. What happens in this trial could trigger a worldwide trial. So what comes to mind that happened worldwide recently? Say it.
The COVID.
COVID-19. Yeah, absolutely.
I started saying
she's pretty smart, ain't she,
like
folks?
COVID.
You know, let's give her a hand. Okay, good job, Mom. All right, let's read this. This is really interesting.
Okay. Judgment in Nuremberg, the vaccine trial that could trigger Nuremberg 2.0 by Jim Ferguson, July 8, 2025. Tomorrow in the Dutch city of Leeuwenburg, Leeuwarden.
Just call it Leeuwarden.
Okay. History may be made. A court case unlike any other is about to begin, one that could shatter the silence surrounding vaccine injuries. Lift the veil of on the pandemic era corruption and place global elites under the microscope of justice. Amen.
Okay.
At the heart of the case is batch EM0477, a shipment of Pfizer COVID-19 injections to have caused devastating harm, including death, a staggering 146 pieces of evidence, including internal emails, autopsies, government contracts, and whistleblower testimonies have been submitted. But this is not just about one batch. This is about the entire system that knowingly endangered millions of lives.
Okay, as of recent, we've had a lot of things come out where they're even admitting that they knowingly knew that the vaccines were harmful. They didn't even test vaccines. In fact, that one group, I can't remember the guy's name, but goes around and gets people into interviews by, they don't know, basically mostly gets them when they're drinking a beer or alcohol someplace, it looks like, or a restaurant, and somehow gets them to talk in conversations, and they just spill everything. And so
that's what alcohol does.
Right, but it's also a human nature. If a person, let's go like this, if you win some kind of a race and nobody knows about it, and you can't talk about it, it takes the gas out of it for you.
Right.
So human nature is willing to brag about their accomplishment.
Yeah.
So they brag, even recently come out a few days ago, they were bragging about how they absolutely knew ahead of time, because they hadn't even tested them or anything. They just threw them out there what the vaccines would do, and that they knew it would be harmful. And, I've said it before, over 80% of the women that were pregnant that took the shot aborted, and so it was a scam. So here's what they're doing. Let's get on with this, and then I'll do more explanation.
Okay, the names that are linked to this scandal are some of the most powerful on the planet. Albert Bourla, CEO of Pfizer, accused of misleading the public on the safety and necessity of the vaccine. Mark Rutte, former Dutch PM, deeply connected to the WEF and accused of counseling critical safety data.
Stop, and that's concealing, and that's the World Economic Forum, and which, for the record, we are out of that forum, but that is concealing critical data. Go ahead.
Ursula von der Leyen, EU Commissioner President, under fire for secretive vaccine deals and suppressed side effect reports.
See, that's suppress the report.
Hiding it.
Yeah, here's the big one.
Bill Gates, the billionaire pathologist, is that pathologist? Philanthropist,
he's a guy, a philanthropist is somebody that gives away, they're rich people that give away their money to poor people. That's what they claim to be, a philanthropist.
You mean the rich people that take the poor people's money instead? Yeah.
Yeah, but they claim that they give it to and they do give it to charities, but like with Bill Gates, it's left within charities, or charities that will bring in globalism and those kind of things.
Anyways, whose fingerprints are all over the global health policy and funding. Klaus Schwab, founder of the World Economic Forum, whose Great Reset agenda loomed large over the pandemic policymaking. And this is not a conspiracy theory. This is in a court of law, and the world is watching.
Okay, so there is going to be a court. Gates tried several different legal maneuvers to say that they had no jurisdiction over him, and this is it's in Dutch, so it's in the Netherlands. That they had that he took it to other courts to say that he didn't have jurisdiction. They all said that yes, they did, because it was in their country. So they've got jurisdictions. Let's go with this. The evidence from brave whistleblowers like Sasha and Catherine Watt, to financial insiders like Catherine N. Pitts, the prosecution is prepared to unveil the inner workings of a global alliance between big pharma, the media, and governments. Key questions include: why were dangerous batches never recalled? Why were injury reports censored or ignored? Why were contracts signed that gave Pfizer immunity from liability? That's a big one. They knew they weren't tested. They gave them to them anyways. Anyway, the most chilling of all, this is a military operation disguised as public health. Yes, it was. The military is the one that actually carried out. The United States military was involved. They made it a military type operation. That's why it was named what it was. Okay, so those things. Time for New Nuremberg. The original Nuremberg trials brought Nazi war criminals to justice. Today, we face a different kind of crime, not committed with tanks or bullets, but with syringes, lies, and psychological warfare. When governments and corporations conspire to suppress life-saving data, coerce populations with threats, and profiteer from harm, the crime is no less grave. In fact, it's global in scale. That's why many are now calling for a new international tribunal, a Nuremberg 2.0, to hold corrupt CEOs, political leaders, and media collaborators accountable, strip them of immunity, enforce permanent bans from public office or public business leadership, and most importantly, deliver justice to the injured and dead. You realize if they do military tribunals, they go through with this, you notice they said news media. That means anybody that promoted these knowingly that it was bad or was paid to do it, knowingly. That's the point, key point, knowingly. They knew it, then they could be tried, they could be hung.
Yeah.
You know, this is something worse than treason. Treason is a hangable offense. This is worse than treason. Okay, military tribunals, why they may be necessary. If civil courts prove incapable of holding elites to account due to corruption, cowardice, or political interference, then military tribunals can become the last line of justice. Why? And by the way, we're thinking about tribunals and what's going on in America and stealing the election. Believe me, forget about the Epstein things. What you need to be concentrating on is they are releasing all the files, all about them trying to take Trump out and everything. In fact, Obama specifically is under big investigation for it. So they're going to hold these people accountable, and those may very well go to military tribunals because as you can see, you can't very well trust the judiciary right now.
Right.
You know, the judges are crooked. And they even admitted 2 days ago, a bunch of those leftist judges admitted that they were biased against Trump. Because when treason is committed at the highest levels of power against the nation's constitution and sovereignty, only a military tribunal has the jurisdiction to respond appropriately. This is not a witch hunt. This is the reckoning. What this means to the world. This case there could be the spark that ignites a global fire of truth. If successful, it may
trigger similar legal actions in other countries, encourage whistleblowers to come forward, destroy the fake immunity surrounding farmer giants, and restore public trust in justice, something that has been done, that has been sorely lacking since 2020. Exactly, 2020 changed the world. Justice is non-negotiable. Tomorrow is the only beginning. The world will not forget what was done. The censorship, the mandates, the deaths, the lies, the trillions made in profits. Now is the time to demand justice, not just for the victims of batch EMO 477, but for all the victims of this orchestrated global deception. Let the court and Lee Warden be the first blow in a wider campaign for truth. And if justice is not served in the civilian courts, then we must press for a global Nuremberg 2.0, peaceful, lawful, and unstoppable.
Right. That is something that is unstoppable. And so because the whole world will be in on it. And I really do think that it's going to push that far because, you know, like I look at the news every day and people say, well, why aren't they talking about it? Okay, well, you quit going to the regular news media. But if you go out there and look, these are already being proved over and over. All the evidence is out there. The admissions of guilt are out there, all of them. But the news media isn't kidding. They're complicit. They're hiding it. But these things are actually happening. And so, you know.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
A while back, you said something about Bill Gates was applying for a visa to go to China to the Wuhan.
Yeah.
Did he
go to work for him?
Did he get it?
Well, supposedly, okay, let's go with that. Bill Gates did recently applied for a job like he needs it, right? A position in China, and they accepted him. And so that, if he is convicted, that's what'll happen. He'll split. He will try to split. So, but it depends, you know, on how serious the people are that are conducting trials. Because right now, this starts off as a civil trial. The evidence that comes out in a civil trial, and they'll see that they can't punish them for it, will lead to the Nuremberg thing that can punish them for it. So we're just praying that he's held accountable. That's the righteous thing to do, is to hold him accountable. So, these people are running, they wasn't, what they really didn't count on was one thing. What didn't they count on?
Trump.
There you go. They didn't count on Trump. They did not count on Yahweh saving him. And so he can bring these people to justice.
Well, because once you cheat and get away with it, you think you're indestructible. So how many years did they cheat and get away with it? And they thought they could do it one more time.
Well, once it was exposed, they did have a backup plan, and the backup plan for the cheating is what we're seeing now, is the judges, these leftist judges. They were put in for that reason. Anyway, we got to get out of here. Okay.
Okay, you can donate online by Cash App, over the phone, by mailing a check or money order. You can find all that information at prophecyhour.com. If you don't want to help with the poor, then pray about a donation for radio, because their airtime is not free, and that's what keeps us on the air. But pray about supporting us in any way that the Lord leads, and just follow his lead, because we do need your help. We can only do this work with you.
Right. And donations always, no matter what, ever since I've started, has always went down in the summertime. And so we're also in the summer slump. Plus, I'm having to dig up money for my cancer medication, which I think is working, but I still have to keep taking it. And every time I buy it about once every other month, it's like $1,500 or $1,400, whatever. So lift us in prayer, help you can. Anyway, remember though, there's only one true God. He is your Father. He is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. His son is Yeshua HaMashiach. He gave his life for our repented sins, and he rose after 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. And through him, and only through him, is the way to the Father. Pray about supporting us, but you can support us all by sending the Rumble link out, and links to anywhere you're listening to radio. Send it out, get other people to listen. That would be a big blessing.
Remember, always be a blessing to others, and pray for the peace of Jerusalem, because when you pray for the peace of Jerusalem, it's like praying for Messiah's return.
Lord our God, Father, King Universe, asking Yeshua HaMashiach's name, Father, that you'd please bless and keep them, and that your face would shine upon them, that you'd be gracious to them and give them peace, because nobody or nothing else can. We're just waiting for Yeshua. Until an hour from now, this is Pastor Dan saying goodbye and
Shalom.
You all be blessed.
Messiah's Branch broadcast featuring Pastor Dan. To contact Dan on the internet, go to messiahsbranch.org. To write to Dan, send a note to Messiah's Branch, 230 West 4th Street, Florence, Kansas, 66851. Tune in next time for